Hello everybody, this is Brian O'Haron. This is the 8th Back to the Basics program, 8th in a series so far. There'll be more in the future. At the beginning of tonight's program, we're going to continue on with some clips of Lambert K activities that happened after I recorded the last program, number 7, and showed it last week on Channel 13. So with that, we'll start with the first clip, which is at the August 4th Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance meeting, Town Hall. And the first clip will be the Nader community lawyer rising to speak during the first public comment.
Charlene Lavoie, 14 John Street. Despite some of the previous comments, I understand that a lot of people would like the Lambert K issue to be done and over with, and elevating gossip over the issues at hand is an easy distraction. But a review of Marcia Sterling's July 31st memo reveals a number of inconsistencies, inaccuracies, and contradictions, and it does demonstrate that last Thursday night's meeting was a cover your tracks meeting. And obviously, this is not my bully pulpit, it's hers. So, but I do have a television show on Tuesday nights from 7:30 to 8:30 on cable Channel 13. And tomorrow night, I'm going to be discussing and picking apart that memo. It really is amazing that nobody else has done that. I haven't heard any questions from board members, the press, or anybody else about it. They just took it as gospel, that July 31st memo. And there are a number of documents that we have, the steep grant, the call of the meeting for the special town meeting to sell the property, and other documents that show the inaccuracies in that July 31st memo. So watch tomorrow night, Tuesday, from 7:30 to 8:30 on Channel 13, and it's repeated on Saturday afternoon, I believe, at 2 o'clock. Let's get the facts here. That was a snow job. That was a cover your tracks job. And don't we really want to know what was going on?
Yeah, that's Charlene, who rose during the public comment to give her views of the documents that were handed out at the meeting on July 31st by Marcia Sterling when she was talking about the Lambert K issue. You saw that on the program, the last program, number 7. Marcia speaking about it and handing out the papers, and these were Charlene's comments, which of course she's gone over the paperwork and she has her views. She's a lawyer. She has her views on things, and she's getting them out in the open. And she will rise again later, and we'll show you that clip as well to speak some more. The next clip is a very exciting clip because in this first meeting after the meeting where we decided that we would not continue on with the purchaser for 32 Lake Street, Lambert K, we begin now in the next clip to start moving ahead with the cleanup process from our grants that we have from the state.
Lake Street, otherwise known as Lambert K.
With the awarding of the Small Town Economic Assistance Grant, STEEP, the town can utilize a previous grant of $100,000 of the Municipal Brownfield Assessment Inventory to update the previous environmental reports associated with that property to actually begin the remediation and sale of that property. Working with Mr. Art Bogan and other environmental consultants, we'd like authorization to go out for proposals to retain a brownfield consultant to complete an updated brownfield assessment utilizing the $100,000 or a portion thereof for an update of the environmental reports so that we can proceed with the appropriate cleanup at 32 Lake Street.
Do we know how much the Dunkin' Donuts folks are going to actually need, or what they can put in for?
Not at this time. The original grant actually listed them as only utilizing approximately $35,000 to $40,000.
But are they at a point where they're actually doing their work and we'll get a number for them sometime?
They're doing their work now. I honestly don't think they'll use that much money.
Okay.
So we could use the balance We got the whole $100,000
The
to
whole
use, so we
property.
can use the balance on the
And-
Lambert Case site.
Yeah, and we've already signed you signed the grant agreement before you left for vacation.
Correct.
We went through
Right.
that, we ratified that at an earlier Board of Selectmen meeting. Does anyone have any other questions for Dale?
Do
Candace?
we have a time frame when we're going to actually get those bids back and take action, some sort of rollout plan?
The goal is to get the proposals finalized with Mr. Bogan this week and working with us. So I would hope that the request for proposal will be out no later than early next week with the response date of probably about the same time, probably not in time to be before you for the next meeting, but we'll see if we can satisfy the 10 days publication to get it so you can accept it. I would think no later than September 2nd, we should be able to have a proposal for you to accept or consider on September 2nd, so we can immediately start the cleanup, or the update in September.
Okay, good, thank you.
We're going to ask for, excuse me, scope of work, cost, and timing, correct, to complete that? George?
Question, how does Art fit into this with compensation?
This can be paid for by part of our brownfields, and there are other environmental people that Art has worked with, that I've worked with as well, that I will use their expertise in helping craft. They've dealt with, Art has dealt with other municipal brownfield assessment grants, and working with the state, with the state director of brownfields, to properly craft a proposal. We can probably mimic what other communities have solicited as well, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel for the qualifications.
But my question really, just to get it out in public, is it's not additional funding that comes from the town, it's actually funded for him, his services within the grant money?
Correct.
My only other question was, I know this motion that you've prepared for us refers to Town Manager and Art Bogan, but I assume with the actual process, Mark Douglas actually runs that process,
Correct.
right?
He'll actually be the one to put the notice in the paper. I'll work with him to craft the actual notice that goes in the paper.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Oh, we don't really take questions from the audience at this juncture of the meeting.
You use the word update. Was there a report done previously?
We have the town had a Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, and a remediation plan done during the period from about 2001 to 2006. And those documents are all available in the town manager's office. And you're welcome to come in and read them. Anyone is welcome to come in and read them.
And I actually, if anybody really does want to read them, I have them through the efforts of a local resident. I have them all converted electronically. So believe me, the stack of documents is quite tall, but I may be able to provide it to you electronically if anybody is so interested in reading some of those reports.
I recommend reading them on paper. That's what I did, but I'm old.
But this is an additional study that was never done before, correct?
This is really an update and a consolidation of the work that's been done.
Yeah. As the mayor indicated, the most recent studies that we currently have on file are from 2006. So this is to utilize some of these state grant funds to take another look at what's there, because things have changed. Obviously, the environment's changed, the regulations have changed about how you can remediate it. So this is an effort to update those reports.
Just another question.
George?
I thought back when we were talking about this particular grant application, that was actually part of this was to determine what the makeup of the building materials are, not just the brownfield elements.
It will be utilized to also assess the building materials, like the window caulkings, to see if there's contaminants or hazardous material within the building, within the joints, within the building, as well as on the ground itself.
Because we're talking brownfield, and that typically is not a brownfield issue. So-
Right, in this case, this was part of, an eligible use of those funds is to determine hazardous materials in window caulkings and in air conditioning, asbestos pipelinings, and so on.
Yeah, it's both brownfield and hazardous materials.
Correct.
It covers both. Glenn?
Is it conceivable we won't use the whole 100,000?
I think updating those reports is going to be a pretty significant effort. I think we'll come close. to using it all. If we, and again, as with other grants from the state, I think if we say we only spend 90,000 of it, I think we can probably approach the state and say, listen, can we use
The 10%.
the balance for another hazardous material or brownfield-related site, much has been the case in previous steep grants, and I think the state would at least be willing to listen.
Thank you.
May I have a motion that the Board of Selectmen authorize the town manager, in conjunction with brownfield consultant Art Bogan, to solicit proposals to complete an updated brownfield assessment, I'd say brownfield and hazardous material assessment of 32 Lake Street?
I'll make that motion.
Candace makes a motion. Do I have a second? George seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Well, we've got the grants, as you heard, and we're moving ahead. This is a perfect example of the team of five getting things done. They're off and running now to begin the process of cleaning up Lambert K with the money from the state. The next clip from the same meeting is in a second citizen's comment. They always have two at a selectman meeting if there's anybody who wants to get up and speak. And this time we have a local resident, retired ship's captain, Kozinski, who often gets up at public comment. He does a lot of research. He tries to check his facts out. And here he's going to speak about Lambert K and the decision that was made in the last meeting.
Good evening again, Captain Stephen Kozinski, 105A Stanton Avenue. This Lambert K affair has got everybody quite shaken up. The timeline is that 9 months ago, or better than 9 months ago, our town manager was approached by Mr. David Vines, and in that 9 months he engaged in certain dialogue. Mr. Vines indicated he was a consultant and not an authorized representative or agent of Excess 4D. Now, this continued on until Mr. Martin went off on 2 weeks vacation when he had set up the July 21st meeting. It was his setup. So he wasn't here for that, which was an important meeting to discuss the sale of the Lambert K. And so what happened is that in the last 7 or 8 days, probably I think it was 7, when he tried to get in touch, everything was referred to our mayor, who engaged in telephone conversations with this felon. He was a felon. He was spent 2 years in federal prison. That was fact. So, you know, her professionalism as a expert in the financial field kicked in, and she called the town attorney for his advice and his recommendations on how to proceed. And as we all know, I mean, he said, wait till the town manager, postpone the meeting and wait till the town manager returns. And that's what we were told. Now, as far as Ms. LaVoy's going to, on Tuesday night, do some Marsha bashing, all right? It's a moot issue. The board voted unanimously to no longer dealings with Mr. Vines, any of his associates, or Excess 4D. So, as much as it's a moot issue, I welcome to see the ludicrous what she's going to pull Tuesday night on Winstead Views. All right, it's going to be a wonderful show, and it's a great sitcom. So, Charlene, please, give us all the best show you can, because we're all going to have a good laugh. And it's a moot situation. So this Marsha bashing at this time is over with. It's over with. The situation's been settled with a vote. Okay? The only one that has to answer questions now is Mr. Martin, because he was involved for over 9 months. 9 months. That's the question. This is what went on, and why didn't he specify to the BOS the details of his conversations and deals? I mean, The first thing he says, I would have asked this David Vines, are you an authorized agent, representative of Excess 4D? Well, who's going to make the deal? You have to have an authorized representative or agent. You can't deal with a consultant. That's fine. They're interested, fine. But I need an agent who's represented and authorized by the company to make this deal. He wasn't. In the conversation, that's a red flag. That's the first red flag that went up. And then there was, I don't know how many more red flags that went up along the way. So, give us a wonderful show Tuesday night, Charlene, please.
Well, that was Chip's captain, retired Chip's captain, Stefan Kaczynski, answering the Nader community lawyer, Charlene Lavoie, and her points. Everybody gets to speak their points at these meetings, and eventually we'll have everybody's points. We've got Marcia's views, we've got the Nader community lawyer's views, we've got Stefan Kaczynski's views. We'll be getting more and more views as we go along. We got some recently from the purchaser who sent a letter to the town with the threat of a lawsuit against the mayor. And as we go on, we'll get more views. Again, I hope we get the legal views from a town attorney. I hope we get the views from the town manager. Maybe that'll come out later. And then sooner or later, we'll be able to look at it objectively and find out what really happened and what the facts really are. But in the meantime, Kaczynski's right. The thing's dead. Let's get on with things. You saw that in the last clip. We're moving ahead. We're moving forward to get things done with Lambert K. Well, here comes the community lawyer once again during the following Captain Kaczynski to remind everybody about her program. She will tell you what the date is and what time it's on, etc. And she also gives some more views about her approach to this whole Lambert K issue and informs you of things that she thinks others should be taking more into consideration.
Charlene Lavoie, 14 John Street. This is not about David, whoever he is. This is about, and as usual, we get partial information from people who don't really bother reading all the information or all the documents. But it isn't about him or discrediting him. I'm sure he's a felon, as everybody says. It's about the process and the accuracy of the information that comes to this Board of Selectmen and to the people. And that's what's going to be revealed tomorrow night, that there was inaccuracies, contradictions, inconsistencies that were put forth in a memo by this first selectman to the people, and everybody said, oh, it must be the facts. Well, they aren't, and you can just go through the documents to pick out the inconsistencies. And I hope after we do that, that the press will follow suit and show the people. It's not about this deal, it's about the process of any deal and how it goes forward, who's supposed to be acting, who's not supposed to be acting, and who's interfering or not interfering. So please watch, 7:30 tomorrow night, Channel 13, Winstead Views.
Well, that was Charlene Lavoie again, the Nader community lawyer, appointed by the Shafik Nader Trust, and some more to that, I don't know. But basically, she did do her program on Saturday. She did it alone, and I watched it. I don't usually watch her program because I don't agree with the way she conducts it. She probably doesn't watch mine for the same reason. But she did present her point of view. She had a lot of papers. It lasted an hour. There were no call-ins that I can remember. And she got all her questions on the table. I personally think it would have been better if she had written them all down on a piece of paper and sent them to everybody, the town manager, the mayor, the town attorney, and everybody, to say, hey, these are my views. These are my views of all these differences that I think are in these papers. I think that would have been good. And then if we could get everybody else to do the same thing like Marcia did, then we'll have all the stuff on the table. We'll be able to discuss it. We'll be able to come up with some agreed conclusions. I personally think that her talk, they don't put it on the internet, so I can't send anybody a link to it, but you can get a hold of Charlene at her office or home and ask her if you can have a copy of the program, or she can play it again on TV for you to watch. But I think it was mainly a legal prosecutor's view of the papers, and that we still have to hear from the defense attorney, and we still have to hear from all the people that will have to speak under oath to get their facts in, and then we can begin to understand the facts, and then the judge can make a decision. Well, the next clip you'll find very interesting because it's Selectman Clausen speaking. He has very close ties to the Nader community lawyer, and perhaps even Ralph Nader himself. I'm not sure about that, but certainly a lot of the Nader followers. And he has close ties to all the liberal Democrats throughout the town, on the lake, downtown, out in Winchester, and everywhere else. And he has a tendency, as does Selectman Perez, to be in the other corner of the boxing ring from the team of five. He is always quick to correct or point out what he thinks are the facts on almost anything that the team of five leader, Mayor Sterling, says. You'll see an example during this clip. And again, here's Selectman Clausen getting his cards on the table.
I wasn't able to be at that meeting last Thursday, which was called as a special meeting, and it was with regards to the activities that took place with regards to this Lambert K issue. And I let everybody know I wasn't going to be there. Dale had indicated he wasn't going to be there, and I would think that under the circumstances, with that kind of a disclosure of what took place, we should have had, at a minimum, a meeting with Nelligan and Dale Martin. I think that, the campaign last November was about open and transparency, and I think that when you talk, there was a mention here about the scheduling of the 21st as the town meeting. I think if you look at the documentation, Dale didn't submit that. Actually, Dale had indicated in an email that he wasn't going to be available only certain dates within the confines of the structure of the statute. So the meeting was scheduled even though he wasn't going to be here, and I mean, that's the way it was. But it was also, indicated that he set that up, and it wasn't the case. But there's a few other things, just going through the memo that Marcia come up with, and I agree with Charlene. There is a process that we have here in a town, and it's a town manager form of government, which means that none of the selectmen act as the CEO. None of the selectmen have the right to negotiate and take care of the duties of the town manager. There was another previous indication at a meeting that we had while he was gone, an accusation that he didn't take care of appointing a replacement while he was not going to be here. And the town charter, I know it gets floated around in the air a lot, but he has the opportunity, if he's going to be over 2 weeks, to appoint a department head to take his responsibilities, and those are limited by the charter, what can be done. And if he doesn't do that, and he is gone for more than 2 weeks, the Board of Selectmen has the responsibility of doing the same thing, and again, with limitations about what that person can do. But looking at the email and Charlene indicated that not everybody has looked at it, and I have had an opportunity, because I was concerned what was going on, since I wasn't going to be able to be here. And there's certainly some specifics in this that I think needs to go to the press and be exposed for what the violation of the structure of our government is, because that's critical to have this thing run the way it should and be clear and open. I think Marcia indicated that you got involved because a call came into to Dale, and at that point, the call should have been answered, really, in hindsight, and said, he's out of town, because there's no authorization for any of the selectmen to go ahead and do any negotiations. So I'm not dealing with, whether this, the whole process with this David was legitimate or it wasn't. It's just, I think that Dale has not had an opportunity to address that situation, and I don't, and it shouldn't be a political thing. It's him doing his job as a CEO. But there were some statements made in your memo, Marcia, that, you know, talking about...
I'm back again, and after that clip, I thought was kind of interesting. And I want to tell you that one of the big problems, and we'll talk a bit more about it later in the program, one of the big problems we have is that I've been watching these select meetings, attending them, and watching other meetings in town, and been on commissions and committees and things, and for some reason, the liberal Democrats that are now in charge of the Democratic Party, two of them from the Highland Lake District, George Clausen and Althea Perez, who are both the co-chairs of the Democratic Town Committee, which is mainly liberal Democrats, so I don't see too many fiscally conservative Democrats in there.
Nope.
And for all these years, they have been in opposite corners from the Republicans, whether they be liberal or conservative. There's always been a problem with communications there. And during the administration of this team of five, Perez and Clausen are the minority of the 7 selectmen, 2 of them, and they're always trying to say that they are not being communicated with. They're always trying to defend the town manager, whether he's right or wrong. They're always trying to repeat their views over and over and over and over and over again to try to get to the press and to get to the residents for the next election that's going to happen on 7/13/2014 from 6 in the morning to 8 at night, where the seats that are occupied by the 2 of the Republicans, Marcia Sterling and Glenn Albanesius, will be up for grabs.
Yep.
Yeah, now we're going to have another clip which is very interesting from the same meeting, and that's Selectman Clausen, who has missed 38% of the meetings since Marcia was appointed and Glenn was appointed to the Board of Selectmen and Finance Board. And, of course, Thea Perez has missed about 13%. And it's very difficult to see how they can complain about communication if they don't attend the meetings. But you're going to hear now some of George Clausen's concerns about the meeting that on July 31st.
In this, in the first paragraph of your memo, Marcia, you talked about there was a timeline given and so forth in the proposal, and that was June 11th. And that proposal, it had a purchase price offer of $15,000. That was in our packet for the June 16th meeting, which I was in Vermont on a project, so I wasn't here, but this was in everybody's packet, so everybody had it. And it talked about the details of what was in this offering that they were submitting to us and how we reacted, or how the board reacted on that. And your comment was the proposal acknowledged the purchaser's responsibility for the cleanup. Well, I don't see that in here, but that's, again, maybe a legal interpretation. I'm not a lawyer. And then we talk about, you know, or you talk about this specifically, the steep grant application that was stated when the governor was here that it was for the cleanup of Lambert K. And then you were quoted in the Register Citizen to the same effect. Today confirms, and I quote, "Today confirms that we will be cleaning this up and it will become something else. This will be cleaned up and will be used. It won't stay like this for another 10 years, even with for another 2. Sterling said the money will help clean up asbestos in the building and ground contamination, clearing a path for XS4D Entertainment Holding Company that's interested in the facility." And then Governor Malloy, the whole presentation of that was for the cleanup of that, which was going to generate jobs. Later, there was talk about how, paragraph 3, about you returned this David's phone call. You know, might have been in good faith trying to, you know, talk with a person because he's dealing with the potential buyer. But again, any negotiations and so forth and further discussions in your summary that you presented to us talks about the $500,000, and it would not be used for you know, and again, it's a he said, she said, and again, it's, you know, so that's just some of the contradictions that seem to be in here. In the actual motion for this to go through, or go to the town meeting, it was very specific, and it said that the minutes of June meeting state the question, shall the town of Winchester sell 1.65 acres located at 32 Lake Street to XS4D Entertainment Holding Company, LLC, for $15,000 with appropriate due diligence and additional items or additional terms deemed necessary by the town attorney, Kevin Nelligan. So you indicated there would be no contribution by the town of the $500,000, and yet the Lambert K, the grant and our conversations about what's going to happen over there and the need to clean this up to get it back on the rolls and get it with employment there, it was very definitely associated with that. So I don't know how that came out. You also stated at the town meeting that the purchaser requested a 30-day extension or a postponement of the meeting. And yet we've got copies of correspondence here of these, I think there were 5 emails, and this was from Kevin, and it was back between Kevin and this Dave and Dale and David and Dale and so forth. It was very clear that this XS4D said that they wouldn't continue this another day if it wasn't approved at that meeting, because they had already incurred serious amounts of money, and their cost of delay was in the neighborhood of $18,000 a day. So they didn't ask for that. They didn't ask for extension, and that's what you said to us in the town meeting, that was, they had requested it. And then you would receive, it says here in your memo that you received an email from David. Is there a copy of that you received from him, whatever he was talking about?
Got everything that I have.
Okay, well, I don't have that. But anyway, so those are questions, I think, that in the interest of trying to be open and above and transparent to the town and the people and so forth, I think we've got to, number one, protect our town manager form of government. Dale is the chief executive officer, and if an offer came in like this, it should have been presented to the town as it was advertised to be presented, and then if you disagreed with it, you vote against it. And at least the townspeople have an opportunity to make their decision, not an arbitrary decision on your part, you know, to foreclose that opportunity. And if some of this information was not adequate, if you wanted, you know, $200,000 for the sale of Lambert K or something else, those things should have been discussed, but the offer was the offer, and that's how it was presented to the town meeting, and that's how it should have been presented, and if it had to be turned down, it had to be turned down, or if it had to be accepted, it's accepted. I just think that we need to improve what we're doing here, and in good faith, you know, carry on our duties that way.
All right, you've now heard George Clausen's view of the meeting, and of course he always defends, he and Candy Perez, Althea Perez, always defend the town manager and present the liberal democratic viewpoint combined with that of their supporters in the Nader organization. Whenever they speak, they tend to repeat themselves a lot, they go over and over, but now we have that group of facts, or that group of questions, or whatever you want to call them, to put it on the table for the judge and jury. The next one that you'll see is the clip from the special meeting that the mayor called with the team of 5, against the wishes of many other people, to discuss the performance of the town manager.
Davis Blueprint.
Glenn S. Albanese. Daniel Langer.
Dale Martin.
Marcia Sterling. Althea Candy Perez.
George Clausen.
May I have a motion to go into executive session? and
Madam
include-
Mayor, I ask that the meeting be held in open session.
In that case, that's not the meeting posted for this evening. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I'm not in favor of it, and you said before the meeting not to play games
We're
at night.
adjourned.
Well, it looks like the communications between the selectmen have totally broken down over this whole town manager issue. This meeting that you've just seen explains it all. You don't need much comment from me, but there is a lot of angst there. The Liberal Democrats rounded up their supporters to come to the meeting. There were a few other people there too. They were not very polite, and the mayor, quite rightly, quickly adjourned the meeting when she found out that they wanted to conduct it in a manner that wasn't advertised in advance. These Liberal Democrats are desperate to win the election on September 13th, 2014, for those two seats that are occupied by the mayor and Selectman Albanesius. And this meeting has just shown you the intensity, and the thing is really taken off. And if you watch their TV programs on Channel 13, everybody has one. I don't think the Republicans have one yet because they're too busy trying to get things done running the town. But you can see my program that I have at 9:30 on Wednesday evenings called the Team of Five, where I do show clips of them progressing through the weeks and the months up until, at least until the election. Well, that's kind of what happened here up until today on the Lambert K issue. We do have a meeting tonight at 7 o'clock while this program is on. They're going to have a program down at the Pearson School Music Room to, once again, it's a special meeting. There'll be a lot of people there. I'm sure there'll be mostly Liberal Democrats and their supporters and the Nader supporters will be there to once again review the performance of the town manager. And I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but there are several possibilities. He could be asked to leave his job. He could be given a 30-day suspension without pay, at the end of which he would, or sometime in between, he may ask for a public hearing, in which case they will have the public hearing. I think the public hearing will be scheduled for around the 15th of September, which is after the election. So a lot depends upon the election for the town manager's future. If the Republicans win the two seats back that they're in right now, then they will carry forward and have another vote on the town manager's fate after the public hearing. If they lose, then the Democrats will opine, and we might end up with a Republican mayor and the town manager staying, or we can end up with the Democrats in the majority and the town manager staying. So there's a lot of options that are going to happen here. I don't know the result of the meeting that's happening tonight or even the progress, because I'm reporting this program in the afternoon before the meeting. But we're all hoping it goes smoothly. We're all hoping that everybody shows up. We need all 7 selectmen there to make the decision, because it takes 5 to let the town manager go. If we can't get 5 to vote yes, then he will remain in his position, and we will head for the election. Now, it's going to be a rough bunch of weeks here before this election, the next 4 weeks or so. There's going to be a lot of name-calling. There's going to be a lot of histrionics. There's going to be a lot of hatreds between the parties. There's a lot of dissension. So all this is very, very divisive. And it's one of the reasons we didn't want to have this election in the first place, but it is here. the whole thing's moving ahead. And I'm pretty sure, although I don't know all the inside information, that the Republicans want to cross this hurdle because they believe that the town manager in many ways is hindering the progress that they want to make in getting things done. So let's hope it all works out all right for everybody and that we continue to move on. And I'm sure that over the next 30 days, while we're waiting for the public hearing and the election, besides the electioneering, we will be getting things done because that's how these the team of five works. They're going to spend more time trying to get things done than perhaps they will electioneering. It'll be just the opposite with the Liberal Democrats that want so badly to get in charge, once again, of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, which I personally think will be disastrous for the town if it does happen. So keep your eye open. I'll be repeating progress along the way on this program, and I'll still be showing the team of five progress programs on Wednesday night at 9:30 for an hour, and you'll be able to see things happening here in this town for the better, I hope. The next clip will be Selectman Perez discussing revenue. I personally don't think she really understands how to budget, and the purpose that we have when we budget is we budget for expenses and we have budget for revenue. And if it turns out that the revenue is more than we budgeted for, then normally we would put that into a savings account or into some kind of a fund or sinking fund or anything like that. And we would try to build up the fund balance or whatever. And if the expenses are over what they should be, then we're in trouble because we have to find the money elsewhere in the budget or in our savings account or whatever, or even in a selectman's contingency fund to be able to pay for that. So that's a constant battle that, because I don't think she understands that very well from my experience watching her over the years, that she understands very well. And she is not a financial genius in my opinion. Marcia Sterling, as you will see in all these clips and all these programs, is far, far, far in advance of her. So this is a little taste of what we see all the time from Selectman Perez when it comes to finances.
One thing that's not on this sheet that probably needs to also be reported is that there are revenue items that came in that were not listed in the budget. For instance, interest and liens has $30,755. That looks like it is revenue that wasn't budgeted. The pilot has $111,000, $111,321. The Pequot grant is $44,469, and the MRSA revenue is $24,406. So that's roughly about $200,000. And I don't see it here in terms of, I know you talked about revenue shortfalls, but I don't see revenue overages here.
Yeah, and I didn't for a reason, Candy, because I think as a finance board, it's important to, if we, particularly given the precarious financial nature of the town, just to be clear, we still have documented $1.2 million of due tos from the town. We still have an $800,000 pension shortfall. We still owe $2 million in addition to the money that we have. So given the financial precariousness of the town, I think it's important not to spend unbudgeted revenues. If we receive unbudgeted revenues, we should let them fall through to the fund balance to build our savings account. I think more than one resident has commented that they're hopeful that very soon we will stop adding mills to the budget to build the fund balance, that we will actually manage our finances more responsibly. And that is the point of this evening's asking for these line items to be frozen, so that we don't use unbudgeted revenues to cover budgeted expenses, when in fact if we freeze these items this evening, we'll be able to accomplish that.
Okay, well, that wasn't my point of bringing these out, and because we have frozen budgets in the past. Budgets have been frozen in the past. Actually, most budgets have been frozen in the past. My point to bringing those out was that there are other sides of things that should also be reported in terms of these other revenues that are coming in. I have no problem with trying to make these things exact or freezing these, but you left out the other part. And, you know, I think those parts should also be included. That was my point.
And I appreciate that. And so to that end, just to round the circle with respect to next year's budget, Cindy and I did circle up with the Jay Case's office vis-a-vis next year's grant revenues and confirmed that everything that we have in the budget for vote on Saturday, May 31st is in fact in the governor's budget and is money that we will receive. So we won't have the same sort of issue next year. At least we're not contemplating it right now unless, based on the governor signing that budget, we'll be fine.
Selectman Perez just stated her views there, which she does over and over and over and over again. And if you watch all the clips or all the selectman meetings or even portions of them and clips from them that are on the program that we have called The Team of Five on Wednesday nights at 9:30 p.m., you will see her in action and you can judge for yourself. But she's been on this finance board now, one way or another, either in the majority or the minority for 10 or 12 years. She purports to be a financial wizard, which she isn't, and she makes a lot of mistakes. And over the years that she's been around and in charge, we have overrun our budgets quite a bit, and we have not grown our revenue very much, especially the additional profitable recurring revenue that we need to fill the fund balance and the sinking funds and make up for other problems that we have in this town. So keep an eye on her and judge for yourself. In the beginning of March and Glenn's tenure as selectman on this Board of Selectmen Board of Finance, the Liberal Democrats and the Nader supporters have been crying foul. They've been crying foul, saying that Marcia, especially, and often other members, I guess, of the board, are micromanaging the people in town manager and his employees and things like that, which of course, to the best of my knowledge, is not true. George here now, Selectman Clausen, will read the charter, micromanagement section of it, and Marcia will respond, and then you will see what's happening here. But my own view is there is no micromanagement. I don't know 1,000% because I'm not there every minute, but from what I see in the selectmen meetings and what I see whenever I see them in action is no micromanagement involved. And I think the town manager even said one time that Lisa Smith was not micromanaging him.
One of the other things that, observations, we've got a lot of comments about sticking to the charter. There's a section in here, first of all, there's the description of what our responsibilities are, and each of us has the same authority and responsibilities, each of us as selectmen. The mayor is able to do the agendas and so forth, but really the responsibilities and the authority that we have are all the same for all 7 of us. But section 511 says it's a non-interference part of this, and it's a very important part of the charter because it's part of how we have a town manager form of government. And it's basically, I'm going to read it into the record just so everybody's remembering this. Neither the Board of Selectmen nor any of its committees or members shall dictate the appointment of any person or person to office or employment by the manager, or in any manner interfere with the manager or prevent him from exercising his own judgment in the appointment of officers and employees in the administrative service. Except for the purpose of investigation, the Board of Selectmen and its members shall deal with the administrative service only through the manager, and neither the board nor any members thereof shall give orders to any subordinate of the manager, either publicly or privately. In order to prevent the situation of undermining the town manager's position, we've got to honor that part of the charter. So just as a reminder to everybody.
And George, I completely agree with you, which is why I really appreciate Dale has taken a lot of time to spend with myself and Candace and Glenn and Dan and Jorge, and I appreciate you and Candy coming to the Thursday meetings before the Board of Selectmen meeting. We are very careful to make sure that Dale is the manager and he is responsible, But as the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, it is incumbent upon us to exercise appropriate board-level judgment and appropriate guidance to make sure that we are back on track as a town, and I think we are getting there. So again, I appreciate your comments and reading it into the record, and I just want to, for the record myself, state that we have, in every step of the way, agree with you and have been working in close concert with Dale, and I appreciate the time that he's been taking with us.
Well, you've heard the view of the Liberal Democrats, George Claus and Candy and their supporters, and the Democratic Party and in the Nader support group that they have worked closely with. And this micromanagement has been used by them in their campaign, and is being used. You can see it on their TV programs that are on Wednesday night and on Channel 13. And they're trying to say that they want to bring back the town management form of government because they think that the Republicans are micromanaging and they're limiting the town manager from performing his duties, which is not true, of course, at all. You can see that again on the clips and if you watch the selectmen meetings. And the real thing the Republicans want to do, as far as I know, and I've talked to a few of them, is they believe in a strong town manager form of government, and they want to improve the town management form of government. They want a better town manager, or they want this town manager to rise higher if he stays in his job, and to do better and to help bring the town, the selectmen, the Board of Finance, the town manager, and all the employees to a higher state of performance. So it's quite silly to be continually saying that they don't want the town manager form of government. Now, if they had their choice, they would probably prefer the mayoral form of government, like in Torrington and many other towns and cities in here. But we tried that. We tried that with the Charter Revision Commission that I was on a few years back, and the voters turned it down. Many of those voters today say they would probably vote for it if it comes up again, but it isn't going to come up for quite a while. So this team of five is trying to do the best they can with the town manager form of government, and strengthen it, make it better, and get things done and get this town turned around over the next 5 years or so till we're back and in our glory again. Okay, the next clip you'll see Selectman Perez once again talking about communications between the parties and the members of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, and she's been doing that for years. I keep hearing the speeches over and over and over and over again, and I do remember when she was in the majority and attending most of the meetings, and her whole party was in the majority. They did kind of more things that they didn't communicate with the Republicans, especially over the last 5 or 6 years. Themselves. They were terrible communicators. They communicated well with the Nader supporters. They communicated well with the liberal Democrats. They didn't communicate well at all, and still don't, with the conservative Democrats that sort of are outlawed from their town committee. And she's really pretty bad at this. So this is all electioneering you hear here. And if you watch the clips and you watch the past selectmen meetings on the Charter website, the last 10 or 12 are on there, and you watch future stuff up till the election, you'll see a lot of this. There'll be a lot of bashing of the Republicans for not communicating with them, and there'll be a lot of bashing of the people for trying to limit the town manager form of government and run the thing on their own, which is not the case at all. They're team builders. They want to build a team. They want to build a strong team. They want to raise to higher heights, and they want to get going. So all this other stuff is just holding us back. And the more we have to deal with this town manager situation, the more we have to deal with these interim elections. And if we change ships in the middle of the stream or boats in the middle of the stream, it's not going to help us.
At the last meeting, I just talked a little bit about communication between all of us. And tonight, you mentioned, and Candace mentioned, there was some meetings that occurred, and I was wondering if you know that those meetings are going to occur, because I know you mentioned that you had a couple of meetings with some people, and you met with Chief Scannell, and then you met with the labor attorney and stuff. I was wondering if you could just maybe, if it's possible, just shoot out an email to everybody so that other people can also attend if it's possible,
Sure, these
without
meetings,
making a quorum. Yeah.
yeah, no, and these meetings basically ended up being running into people in the hallway and saying, we have this issue, can you help me address it?
I was
What
only
are your
at the
thoughts?
finance meeting.
Well, somebody called me and thought that I had called them to set up a meeting with them, because Candace and Candy, we get mixed up. So I'm aware that there have been meetings or calls to set up some meetings, so, again, and then the things you mentioned tonight, and because I said at the last meeting, if you could just, give it a thought, and I'm not talking about just me and George, I'm talking about, the guys over there too.
Well, I got through this evening. I didn't think I would here. A lot of work involved, thanks to Ray Rubago for editing, and I'm the director, of course, and I'm responsible for all this content. So I wish you a happy week. Try to contact as many people as you can to get out and vote on September 13th, 2014, at the Pearson Middle School from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and drive people there if you have to. Call them, email them. Let's get everybody out there, and let's keep this strong team of 5 on the finance board for the next 4 or 5 years so they can straighten our finances out.